right before that, we had went on vacation and it was a lake trip, and I'm looking at all these beautiful lake houses and stuff. And dude, I had such a fire inside of me to do well for my family and to succeed. Not to mention all the hardships we had went through. I felt like we were so far behind. So, dude, it was a perfect storm for if we worked hard enough for us to be successful.
Welcome to the Painter Growth Podcast, where we help you scale your painting company in record time. Join us as we explore sales, marketing, hiring, finances, leadership, and more, everything that you need to know to scale and grow your painting business. I hope you enjoy and subscribe. What is up, everybody? Mike Hickman here, founder of PainterGrowth.com, and you're listening to the Painter Growth Podcast. And we are here joined today by my friend Ryan Ezzell out of Nashville, Tennessee, owner of PaintPro. What's up, Ryan?
What's up, brother?
So for those listening, Ryan, we're going to get into a story, going to have a lot of fun, maybe even shed a few tears. But Ryan is not even 2 years into his business and basically just had a $300,000 month, over $2 million. That's over a $3.6 million run rate in just 2 years of getting started. It's amazing.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So obviously you decide to start a business and boom, just all worked out, right? Just easy.
I mean,
Be sarcastic there.
not necessarily, but it definitely felt inspired. I'll tell you that much. It felt like from the beginning, things aligned and things worked out for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a man of faith, and I feel like it was definitely divinely meant to be.
That's incredible. So if we wind back the clock, how did you get started in entrepreneurship to begin with?
Yeah, so as early back as I can remember, I was I was spraying addresses on curbs, and I had mow routes, and I had this when I was like 11 years old. I had this little red wagon. My dad took me to Sam's Club, and I'd sit out on the corner, my little red wagon sign, and I would sell candy and drinks and stuff. So it's always been kind of in me, and I know that you can attest to this. If it is in you, there's just something about you. There's a hunger inside that if you don't feed,
Man.
you're never quite comfortable.
A little bit different up here in Canada, but when I was 10, I would go out and I'd shovel all the driveways on our block and come home with
Yep.
like $100. My mom's
Yeah.
like, "Where did you get that?" I'm like, "I've been shoveling all day."
Yeah. 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 So I would say moderately to fairly successful. At about the age, I think 23, 24, I started doing door to door, pretty heavy. Worked for ADT and then Vivint. You can make a tremendous amount of money
Oh,
as a young
great
adult.
skill to learn.
Yeah,
Great
it
skill.
really is. And again, when I say that it feels inspired, every single thing that happened to me in my past, it lined up to make this very successful early on. So I always had the thought of starting my own security company or um, just doing anything I could to fulfill that desire, that entrepreneurial desire. It's never going to leave unless you fill it, like I said, or feed it. So I would grow up the ladder here, regional manager, senior regional, but I still had that hunger to kind of start my own business. And we ended up getting into some pretty rough years where I was successful, and I think it kind of went to my head, and I didn't have good grounding. And dude, I struggled for a lot of years. Drugs and alcohol controlled my life 100%, especially towards the end. It was a wake up to sundown. It was a hook in me, for sure. And it was not easy on my family, on, not only my wife and kids, but, my mom and dad. I was arrested and, put in jail and treatment centers, and it was rough.
How long ago was this?
This was it was about 4 years ago is when I,
Okay.
got sober. Yeah.
So during
Um,
COVID kind of thing.
exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
2019 is where it really kind of fell off. And again, dude, I was handed amazing opportunities around that time to, run large companies. And, they moved me and my family out to Florida exactly when COVID hit. And we were out there thriving. But I thought I had it kicked, and I took a drink, and it absolutely consumed me for years. So man, it was, I can't even emphasize the hardship that we really went through. It was terrible. I had multiple treatments and run-ins with the law, and it's completely contrary to who I am outside of that. And everybody is always like, "Oh, no way you live." It's like, no, man. It was really rough for a long time, and anyone that can relate to that, it is an all-consuming. It's terrible. I have a lot of sympathy for people with addiction, and because I went through it.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah, we
outside of
started
that,
yeah, we have a lot of addictions in my family. And, yeah, my mom, after retiring, she now spends her retirement, other than golfing, working with addictions kids basically and helping them get into treatment and,
wow,
following the leading meetings all the time. So, yeah, I definitely am very close to that whole world.
yep,
I'm fortunate enough that don't have that gene, right? Because it's like
yep.
it's
It
not
is
it's a gene, it's not a choice.
100%. That's a great way to put it. I do think it's something a lot of people are born with.
Mhm.
But back to kind of the inspiring part of it all. It's like, dude, do you know how many people I deal with today that are in my organization that we work together and help through that, and they're in recovery just like I am, and but anyways, back to kind of the start. It's like we hit a absolute bottom. We had lost everything. I had all the court stuff and all the wreckage of the past that you accumulate when you're living that life. And basically, when I had reached the bottom that was palatable to me to start, I had nothing to start from. So I started working at a shoe store for $15 an hour at, like, 31 years old. Is the most humbling thing I could ever experience. I didn't have a car, didn't have a driver's license. My parents had to take me to work every day. I had an order of protection against my wife and kids. It was absolutely despicable. And so I just slowly, man, I started, working the I contribute everything to God. He slowly brought me down so he could build me back up. And I worked at this place and I started getting the hunger and the passion for sales again and helping people. And the entrepreneur in me just, it ignited like I could not imagine. Everything became an opportunity for business. I would hear stories and I was like, man, that's a great business to get in. But again, it was a slow and steady road. I actually got another opportunity that was such an amazing game changer. It was like a six-figure opportunity. This company reached out and said, hey, we want to hire you because of your background in security. And they started paying me an amazing amount of money. Really helped me and the family, during that period. So whenever we were in that, I started hearing all these stories about service-based businesses and the horror stories behind them. And towards the end of it, I've worked for this company about a year now, and my past starts coming up, and they're like, "Hey, man, we got to get you licensed." And I'm like, that's gonna be a problem, you know. And so we tried and tried and tried. We couldn't get me licensed. So it came to a fork in the road where I was gonna have to leave this company, or they were gonna have to fire me. At that point, we had already started the painting company because I heard three horror stories about painting companies in 1 week. So it was like just horrible stories. One of them, oh yeah, the painter came out, never gave me the estimate he said he was going to give me. It's all the same stuff that we hear back to back to back. And I'm thinking, wow, there could be something to that. And then right on top of that, my grandfather ran a painting company here in Nashville for 50 years. I was not a part of it. It was just something in our past that was always talked about. But I was just like, man, maybe this is it. So my grandmother actually, we go to help her move. We did not have a lot of extra money at this time. And so we go help her move, and she slips like 300 bucks in my pocket. And me and my wife are sitting there at the table and we're like, let's just start a business, let's just try. We don't have to know what it is or have to have all the answers. So we decided, okay, let's try a painting company. We just so happened to have the extra 300 bucks and we started it. Started the LLC right then and there. And from there, it was insanity. We knocked, her and I both knocked 1,000 doors to start our business. So she would go out on the weekends with me. I would go out every single day after work and just dock doors. You know, it was chaos. But with the first job we ever got, I come up and knock on this lady's door. It's a huge, beautiful, historic mansion. And I knock on the door and I'm like, hey, I'm Ryan. I'm with Paint Pro. You know, I'd love to give you an estimate. This company I work for, you had to wear a tie and a white button down shirt. So I'm sitting at her front door, pitching painting, wearing a tie and a button down shirt. And she's like, okay, yeah, like we need our house painted. You know, the last quote we got was way too high. So I work all night on this proposal and I send it to him, and it was $17,500. And I sent it to her, and she's like, hey, like this looks really good. Like, I think we could do this. So her husband calls me, hey, come up to my office and meet me. I want to talk through this. I go up there and he says, hey, man, the proposal's spot on. We can go with you, but I looked you up and you've only been in business for 3 days. And I was like, well, I said, you're right, 100%. I've only been in business 3 days. But, you know, he said, it's worth the risk to me. I can't give you a 50% deposit, but I'll give you 5 grand. And so he did it. He wrote me a check for 5 grand. I had no painters at the time. So I get the job and I'm like, okay, so now I got to go find painters. So I'm driving down the road and I see some painters painting an apartment complex. And I told them, get in the car, follow me, come over here to this house and tell me how much you charge me to paint this place. And so they came over there, they did it. I never thought this would work out, but it freaking worked out, man. They came over and did an amazing job. These painters really cared about what they were doing, gave me all their paperwork, and it couldn't have worked out any better. So the customer was super happy, and our first job was in the books. And from there, man, our door knocking ignited the company, you know?
That's incredible, man. I totally understand how you attribute that to a divine intervention. There's a lot of like really convenient coincidences that happen back to back.
Yep. Yep. If
Yeah.
it wasn't for that entrepreneur, that guy I knocked on his door, her husband, or the woman I knocked, her husband owned 5 companies right down the street in our city. And dude, he just freaking believed in me and gave me a shot. That was our first job. And that big win, you know how it is early on, it changed everything.
100%. I mean, early, like you've heard the phrase before, luck is when hard work meets preparation,
Yep.
right? You may have not
Yep.
been prepared, but man, you're working hard, right? And like
100%.
that's how we tell a lot of our clients to start and kickstart their business. If you have no money, no connections, no resources, no past client list, go knock on 1,000 doors and see what happens, right?
I couldn't agree more. I think it is the best thing you could do because of the character that it builds and the relentlessness that it takes. If you succeed from that, dude, it's like you're on a good start to be strong for your company. And you know, that whole time period where we struggled like that though, and then we start getting these wins. Right before that, we had went on vacation and it was a lake trip, and I'm looking at all these beautiful lake houses and stuff. And dude, I had such a fire inside of me to do well for my family and to succeed. Not to mention all the hardships we had went through. I felt like we were so far behind, you know? So, dude, it was a perfect storm for if we worked hard enough for us to be successful, you know?
Yeah. Do you have siblings?
I do. Yeah. I have a sister and a brother. Yeah.
Where are you on the order?
Well, technically, I'm the middle child, but I have a half brother who's an older brother.
Okay.
Yeah. But I kind of
I'm
grew
actually,
up as the oldest one, you know?
oh, gotcha. Okay. And I'm
Yeah.
similar. I have like two half brothers and two step brothers and a half brother. I'm second youngest, but I feel like when you're younger on the pecking order, it gives you that like chip on your shoulder to outshine.
Yep. Absolutely.
Now, I remember that's a really awesome first project. My first project, I remember again, I'm up in Canada, it's relevant here. I booked it in like February, my first year trying to start my painting business, and it was a fence for $800. And I remember trudging through the snow in my like knee-high snow boots, pacing out a fence when I didn't know to count 8-foot sections, pacing
Right.
out this fence. I ended up coming in with a quote, $800. The guy obviously had to think about it because I couldn't close on the spot. He ends up getting back to me a few days later, wants to book with me. So I'm like, great, book my first job. I was, elated. Fast forward a few months when I actually go to produce it, it probably should have been like a $3,000 project,
Yep. Yep.
like
Yep.
full scrape, full stain, multiple coats, thirsty wood. And anyway, but it was still the first project. It was a check mark, got it done, you know, got paid, moved on to the next one.
Yep. I probably undershot this house. It was probably 6,000, 7,000 square feet. It was massive. They
It's
got
a
an
big house.
amazing deal. But
Yeah.
hey, I had no overhead, just like you in the beginning, and it's a learning experience,
Yep.
Who cares?
You're paying for education.
Absolutely. I think that is 100% how the first 100,000 that we did came in,
Yeah. Now,
you
so
know?
you're lucky enough, fortunate enough that you had the experience of having the door-to-door alarm sales previously,
Yep.
right? How would you, maybe approach door-to-door differently, or give advice to someone who wants to get in, that wants to try door-to-door, but they're scared to take that first step, make that first knock?
Man, I have an amazing passion for door to door. I absolutely love it. I think that if you approach door to door correctly, you're not going to get the door slammed in your face. Everything has to. You have to understand the situation you're putting yourself in. If you walk up to someone's door, you just interrupted their day. Who knows what's going on behind that door? Just understand that right from the get go. And I think that I don't think you can get. There's any specific thing you could do that can make you stronger than door to door emotionally, sometimes physically. But I just think that if you go out and whatever service you're in, if you knock 10 doors, you're probably going to get a sale. I'm sorry, talk to 10 people, not just knock 10 doors. You're probably going to get a sale no matter what industry. It's just a weird law of numbers. The universe will serve you a customer. I've found this in every industry, whatever you want to call it. Dude, I've sold roofs, alarms, solar, everything under the sun, painting. And some of my favorite customers, some of the best interactions I've ever had have been door to door. If you go out there and you're looking to build a quick relationship, it's just, hey, super sorry to bother you. I'll be quick. I'm Ryan. I'm with Paint Pro. Hey, do you happen to have any painting projects you want to get checked off the list? If you do that enough times, simply, kindly, and understand the position you're in, you're going to win.
Yeah, I think that's the mindset that people have, a lot of people have, because we deal with, hundreds and hundreds of business owners who a lot of them have resistance to going door to door. I think their feelings around it, and maybe they're justified, but it's like, I don't like having someone knock on my door, so I don't want to do it. I don't want to interrupt someone's day. Right.
Yep.
But I feel like if you approach it as, like you said, like being helpful, being kind, I don't think for 99% of the people, they're not going to be upset about it. They're just like mildly inconvenienced. And maybe
Yep.
for 5% of people, you can really help them.
Yep. And you understand that if they say, hey, get off my freaking door, you just interrupted my dinner. Sir, I completely understand. I'm super sorry. And you get out of there. You don't try to be confrontational. You can't take offense to it. But you're absolutely right. It's just like a sale. People will spend other people's money how they would spend their money. You can't do that. If the customer is reaching out to you about, let's say, a painting project, we don't know what extent they've already gone to budgeting and planning to pay for this job. If it's a $20,000 job, it may seem like a lot to me or you, but these people, it may be all they've ever wanted since they bought this house. It's the same thing with door to door. If you knock on a door and you're kind and you are simply there to be of service, hey, I'm here to serve any painting needs you may have. Someone eventually is going to look up at their ceiling and say, golly, my wife's been hounding me about painting this ceiling for 6 months. Actually, yeah, what would it cost to do that right there? And you just start running into it, man. You do 100, you do 1,000, you get so comfortable, you start to love it. You start to enjoy being outside, and the smile grows bigger and bigger on your face. So the customers are warmer and warmer.
Yep.
And not to mention, talk about customer acquisition costs. I think there's no better way to start a business. I'm potentially going to partner up with some guys and start another painting company out in Florida. And I told them, look, we're not doing any marketing for the first month. Everything is door to door. These guys have the same experience I do. It's like, I feel like that's where everybody should start.
Yeah. How do you
Just-
deal with, HOAs and gated communities and that kind of thing?
So we actually will get licensing or permitting wherever it is needed. especially for new reps. It's super hard whenever they run into that resistance. If the cop runs around the neighborhood and it's like they flag them, we really want to be upstanding in whatever neighborhood we're at. And also, if a customer has gone out of their way to put a no soliciting sign on the door, there's a lot of companies out there that try to play the game. It's like, oh, I'm so bold, I'm going to go knock on this door or that door. If if it's really obvious that they don't want to be interrupted, I'm not going to do it. And especially I think door to door in the summertime is really great. And it's all about hitting at the right time, hit when people are home. And even if it's someone's just starting out in door to door, just walk around a neighborhood and talk to the people that are already outside at 5 o'clock. That way you don't even have to knock on their door. And I promise you're still going to run into 10 or 20 people.
Yeah, 100%. How about when it
Yeah.
comes to recruiting people? I mean, we have our own standards and profiles for the type of person that we like to recruit for our marketers. What's your ideal profile for someone that you're going to hire on your team?
Yeah, dude, I'm a sucker for what I would consider God's calling. If I run across somebody and I just kind of feel like, hey, maybe this is someone who not only would be a good fit for you, but we could probably help them out too. I think my ears are always open to that. Also, like you said, fitness is it's freaking spiritual to me, man. I have to get into the gym and get a pump, get a workout in, exhaust myself physically every day, because I'm going to go out there and exhaust myself mentally too. I think that I pay for gym memberships for all my guys, anybody that wants to go, and we go to Lifetime. It's expensive, but we try to meet up there every day at 10 o'clock. We do appointments at 8:30, um, sometimes 9. And then a lot of times we'll break from 10 to 12, meet up at the gym, get a workout in, and then continue the appointments, typically 4 a day per guy. So
Your
anybody that
sales
wants,
guys or your
yeah,
door-to-door
yep,
guys?
my sales guys.
Okay.
Yep. So we try to keep morale high, get in there. It's almost like our office too. We talk shop,
Yeah.
we'll talk about jobs, we get our lift in,
That's
and
a
then
cool
we're off for
sales
the day.
culture.
It really is, man. And it happened organically. I actually ended up meeting one of my sales guys at the gym. He's a young guy. I'm like, what are you doing right now? He's like, oh, I'm not doing much. I'm like, come on, you're working for me now. So, and then my brother-in-law is our sales manager. And we kind of stole him from he was doing sales for, another trade, but similar to this. And he's came on and absolutely crushed it. And it's been great to see, his financial growth too. When you're hitting big numbers, you're not the only one that's blessed.
Yeah,
It trickles
100%.
down.
You have the ability to bless others with amazing opportunities that they can't get elsewhere.
Yep. Yep.
So how many door-to-door marketers do you have right now?
So, again, the when we took the turn to marketing, um, we kind of stopped having the ability to go out and knock so many doors because we're running so many appointments.
Okay. So
And we
your sales
invest.
guys would also go door to door?
Yep.
Okay, gotcha. So they do
Yep.
both.
Yep. And so would I. That's how we started. And again, I just think if it's a sunny day, it's beautiful outside. It's like you don't have another appointment. Let's go knock some doors.
Yeah,
But
great mindset.
now, yeah. But we do very little now. For one, as you know, when you start selling $100,000 weeks, you have to be everything turned strategic. Nothing is easy anymore. Production is extremely hard. We have like 28 painters plus sub crews, and it turns into, like I said, you have to be very strategic.
So
We
where
can't knock a door and get a job done next week.
yeah,
It's not going to happen.
gotcha. So where's most so you did about 300,000 in the last month. Where's most of your work coming from right now?
Facebook, Google, I'd say 70% or more is coming from Facebook.
Wow.
And then we just started our Google campaign January. And that's been great too.
Yeah. So mostly just digital. You've transitioned.
Yep, we transitioned basically 100%. We do very
Yeah.
little in the way of door to door now.
That's a very interesting transition. Now, why do
Yep.
you think you decided to make that transition?
So
Is
whenever I
cost of
yeah,
marketing any higher?
do what?
Is cost of marketing higher now?
Oh yeah, from door to door, absolutely. There is no cost of marketing, but I'll tell you this, when I first started this, I had another job. So I could only knock doors after work and on the weekends.
Yeah.
So I took all that money and invested it almost immediately into digital marketing.
Okay.
And that allowed me to start building customers. And my customer acquisition was outside of me going to physically have to knock doors, which it wasn't sustainable for me to keep working two jobs full time. It was going to break eventually, but I did it for a long time. So I would say 2 months into it, maybe a month into it. Um, I think we had only done about 60 or 70,000. And then we started doing digital marketing. And that was, that's when we really saw the uptick in our business.
Yeah. That's incredible. You're in your basically in your second year business. You haven't even
Mhm.
had 2 years yet.
Yep.
What's the goal for this year?
5 million.
Okay, that's wild.
Yep.
It's awesome
Yep.
for yeah, amazing for second year. So, what do you foresee are going to be your biggest challenges pulling 5 million off?
I mean, last year we did 1.5 million and it was our first year. And we had a lot of good things going right for us. We got good people early, we got good painters early, great connections early. Um, so this year, it's like, what did we do? We quadrupled our ad spend. You know, we brought on additional sales staff, put a project manager in place, put an office admin in place, put we have a leads admin in place. So all she does is leads. But as you know, if you 10x your customer base, you 10x your problems. So it's like there's nothing easy about my job right now, or my life, or my project manager's life, or the sales life. It is explosive growth right now. We're putting a tremendous amount into marketing, and we're expecting a tremendous amount out of it. You know, so I'm putting a lot of pressure on the sales guys. We promoted my project manager from within, so he's used to being behind a brush, and we started him off basically right out of the gate. He was managing about 40,000 a week. Now he's managing about 70,000 a week. And the problem, it's just like we start 10 plus jobs a week. That means you order 10 plus jobs of paint. You're facilitating and organizing 10 plus crews to go out and paint.
Yep.
We have a ton of we're 50/50 in-house and subs. Probably actually about 60/40 in-house. Um, so we have a lot of in-house guys too, and the struggles with that. It's like calling out, and my truck broke down, and um,
Every day, someone's truck's breaking down.
absolutely, it's
Yeah.
it's it's a struggle. But again, dude, everybody's bought in to hit 5 million this year. We already know it was lofty. Nobody has to tell me it was lofty. But honestly, I don't care, dude. I mean, we have put money in the right places when it comes to customer experience, customer communications, our our CRMs. We feel like our communications are really strong to give a customer an unbelievable experience. Project managers on the job every day. Hey, here's what we got done today. Here's what we're going to do tomorrow. It's just, we feel that if we keep doing this, we'll have to bring additional, we call them problem solvers out there, additional project managers out there. But we think it's very attainable.
Yeah. And that's really exciting. I mean, can you even picture back like, 2 years ago thinking where you would be right now? That's a pretty wild transformation.
It's not even, it's no, no. We thought $100,000 would be a good year in
Yeah.
revenue. Isn't that insane?
This is wild. Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
um, did you set a company goal or like a bonus or anything if you guys hit 5 million this year?
So I did a couple of things wrong in the beginning. So I paid my sales manager. We started him out as a really high percentage because we started him in the winter. So it's like he's like, oh man, I'm gonna have to make this and that. And I'm sitting here doing the math, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. But if you're only selling 100,000 a month, or less, it's like, yeah, I am gonna have to pay him a lot more. So my sales manager is making a really good living. He'll probably make 30 grand this month. So he's doing amazing. But we incentivize everything. We incentivize reviews. If your name is mentioned in a reviews, and they're not little incentives. If 48-hour check pickup within 48 hours after the sale after the project is done, we incentivize that. Everything that is going to expedite our growth, we pass right back on to whoever was involved with it, typically project manager or sales. So yeah, we definitely believe in bonuses and structures. And also, I think it's very important too. Bonuses, one time, if we hit a goal, I don't think that's a cause for a bonus. I think a goal is something, I don't know that we should necessarily praise a goal. But if we do it 2, 3, 4 months in a row, now we're exceeding expectations. Now it's time to party. Now it's
Yep.
time to really throw out bonuses and thank yous.
Yeah. I guess for clarity, like we do, yeah, definitely KPI bonuses are really important, like you described there. We hit our annual goal at Painter Growth last year in 2024. So what we're doing is a team retreat. So I'm taking they have their own KPIs and bonuses, but I'm taking the whole team to Colombia, like a real retreat.
Wow.
And we're gonna spend 5 days in a villa with like a private chef and like
Golly.
do that whole thing on the beach.
That's amazing though. See, it's like, thank you so much for putting that in my head. It's like I haven't
Yeah.
even thought about doing stuff like that. Sometimes you get so caught up in the day to day that that's a great idea.
It doesn't have to be that far. You could rent a cabin on the lake and take everyone out on a boat for a few days.
Yep. I think
Yeah.
we have such an amazing culture already. I think that would strengthen things so much.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome that you're doing that. And they're gonna, dude, you don't forget stuff like that.
No, and you never do that otherwise in your life, right? And
Yep.
it's like how often it's like, hey, I'm just going to go to Colombia.
Right.
So
Yeah. I think it's awesome. Yeah.
yeah. Now, in your business right now, you're doing a lot of things that you've never done before, right? I
Yeah.
think as entrepreneurs, we do this. We put ourselves in precarious positions, and we need to, I basically test ourselves and see if we can rise to the occasion or not. So, what are some of the things that you've had to learn or change or develop within you to go from that $1.5 million leader to $5 million leader?
I think it's such a good question. It's because when you think back to, let's just the exact question you just asked, it's like I had a conversation with my mom earlier today, and she's going to start helping us out with the company. And she's like, Ryan, I never even thought about, or I was telling her, Mom, you don't even understand how much there is in the business, like revenue, profit margin. And I'm like, holy crap, who have I become? And KPIs. And you start thinking about who you have to become to run a business like this. And I could cry right now and thank God for allowing me the mental capability to push myself and dive in. And dude, you know how it is. Sometimes you feel like you're gonna crack. And I'm talking physically, mentally. It's like I can't take another phone call. Take a deep breath and you take that other phone call. And at the end of the day, you feel amazing. But dude, to answer your question, it's like everything is getting pushed right now. Everything. And you can either take it as, man, I can't take much more, or how much more can I take? Let's just keep pushing it and stretch that rubber band a little bit more and try to see, man, what does the next level look like? And the next level look like? As long as it doesn't come from a place of selfishness and desire, I think it's super positive. And I think that whenever I talk about even little things like margins and um, set rates and conversion rates and stuff like that, I think the more we talk about those details, it opens your mind up to, again, whenever I was thinking earlier, everything becomes a business. And you're pushing yourself so much mentally, you start thinking outside the box. I think your whole life gets stronger when your mind gets stronger.
Yeah. What do they say? Pressure makes diamonds, and hard times make hard people.
100%. 100%. Yeah, it's it almost seems really it almost seems impossible sometimes when you think about the big businesses, because it's like, holy crap, dude. I never would have imagined there would be this much in a business this size, you know. But it's also exciting to see people, there's people in our group that run, $20 million painting companies, and it's really inspiring. But then it's like you think back, how do they do that? The in-house crews that we've developed over time, it's like, man, those people, they're really appreciative, really grateful for the opportunity. We've built one four-man team, another four-man team. This amazing sub crew who was an in-house crew decided they want to start their own paint company. So now they're building their company within our company. It's like it's a slow, gradual thing. I think that is one of the best things I've learned. It's like, let the things that take time, let them take their time. Let's not get in a rush to just make a bunch of money as quick as possible.
Mhm. I think also one thing that's important to recognize as a business gets bigger and there's more complexity and there's more stress and there's more pressure is that the main role of a leader is to recruit and hire leaders underneath you to bear that burden. So that, and if you have a really good person working for you in a certain position, like if you have a really good project manager, none of his headaches should become your headaches. The headaches should stop at that level.
Amen, brother. Amen. And when you're starting in a position like mine where I ran everything in the beginning, now those people that are used to me running everything, now my project manager, he's running everything, but they don't like that, right? They want to deal with the boss. They don't want to deal with Jeremy. I'm sure you've
Of
experienced that
course.
too.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Yeah, so now it's like we have a whole age of people that are from the old school where it's like we deal directly with Ryan. Ryan pays me directly through Venmo or Zelle. It's like, oh, now we got to get paid via Gusto and all this payroll stuff. But man, I think that's an amazing point that you just said. It's funny. Look, this is what I do now to keep things exactly how you said. Don't make your problem my problem. Every time a painter asks me a question, I tag my project manager and ask him the same question on the thread. Get it. Hey, let's not ask me.
Yep.
Get in the mode of asking the right person the right questions. I don't
Yeah.
know what wall color that job is.
Yep. I mean, I think that every business pretty much starts with a sole founder or partners or whatever, and then you grow. And there's going to be some employees that stay at their level as you add different managers, and they're going to want to skip rank. But you need to ruthlessly delegate. So, like as I've been building my company, what I've found is like even something that I've used this example before in the podcast. Like last year, I had one payroll task that was left. I got all my bookkeeper doing all my payroll, except I had one payroll task that was left. And the reason why I still had it is because it was paying some overseas employees and it required a like crypto transaction. There was a lot of two-factor authentication and difficulty with logins and credentials and all that stuff. And so like I tried a couple of times to get it off my plate, but I couldn't figure it out. So I was just doing it. Didn't take a lot of time, 1 or 2 hours every month, but like it kept going on. And then at one point I'm like, okay, enough is enough. I have to get out of this task. So what my bookkeeper and I ended up doing was scheduled 2 full days, a Thursday and a Friday, that those entire 2 days were just dedicated to figuring out this login situation. So I didn't have to do this task. It didn't take the full days. It ended up taking like 10 or 11 hours, like on hold and calling back and forth support and passwords and stuff. But like that's the level in which I will ruthlessly delegate administrative tasks so that I don't have to do it. So I can just have clear days to work on the business and to lead the leaders on my team.
You know what you're doing. You're just bringing up things in my mind that I need to put extreme attention on, like you just did. That's why these conversations are so good. You're a step ahead of me, and man, those are the people you want to hang out with.
Yeah,
I have the same task that I have to eventually delegate, or I'm going to be up till 10 o'clock at night paying people or just doing, tasks that I shouldn't be doing.
yep. You said the Zell thing, so that like triggered me. Like,
And
dude,
that's
you
it.
shouldn't
I
be doing
still
that.
do that on a regular basis.
Yeah, no, you have to be out of that. You have to ruthlessly delegate everything that does not have to be done by Ryan, because
Yep.
that your time is worth, $5,000 an hour. Like realistically, act as if every hour that you have is worth $5,000 an hour. And if you're doing something that's worth $50 an hour, you're paying $4,500 an hour to do it.
Amen.
49.50 an hour to do it.
I agree completely. I
Yep.
agree.
So that's, and then the other saying that I often have is your ability to scale your business is limited only by your ability to delegate more and more complex tasks. So initially
Yep.
you're delegating painting, you're delegating sales, you're delegating door to door, and then you're delegating project management, sales management, some low level leadership. Now you're at a point where you're leading teams of project managers and sales reps. And so your ability to delegate these things that are difficult to delegate, right? Leadership is difficult to delegate. Teaching other people to delegate is difficult. So you need to level yourself up so that you can get all of those things off your plate. Because as a leader, you need to constantly remove things from your plate because more things are going to keep coming in. And your days don't
Yep.
have to be chaotic and difficult because it sounds like amazing people. You just need to empower them and lead them and most importantly, trust them and let
Yep.
them know that they are trusted.
Yep. And another thing too is like you'd be amazed that I'm sure you've dealt with this. I know you've dealt with this. It's like I'll promote a painter to a project manager. All of a sudden they forget what it's like to be a painter. And it's like, dude, remember, we're dealing with people. People have good days, bad days, slow days, fast days. We have emotions, we have character defects. It's like I have I try to have a heart through God's eyes. Like, hey man, looks like you're going through something. Let's talk about it. I don't want to come off as aggressive but it's like sometimes, man, the project manager, he's got so much on his plate. He forgets, like last night, good example. He's like, man, these guys worked till 11 o'clock for me last night to get this job done. I didn't ask them to do it. I didn't even know they were doing it, but they knew that this job needed to be done. And thank God for them. But it's one of those super grateful crews that'll do anything, and I love them and I pay them well to do these things. But they stayed till 11 o'clock last night to get this job done. And Jeremy came back the next day. My project manager came back and he's like, man, it looks the same as it did when I left yesterday. And I said, Jeremy, do you remember how many times it would piss you off when I would say that same thing to you? You don't forget what all it takes to be a painter. You could be scraping paint off the floor. You could be fixing up cut lines. There's so many things that go into it. You pull the tape off the wall and it pulls the paint off the wall. Now you got to spackle and prime. And it's like, and he was like, oh yeah, man, you're right. It's like, don't forget, as we grow, the passion is the part that we can't skip over. Whether it's in sales management, it's like, let's not forget that we have to be a bit kingdom minded here. Who are we blessing? It's amazing that if we're blessed as a company, it allows us to bless our pressure washing company that we outsource to. It allows us to bless our sales guy, our painter, our production manager, and then it allows them to bless their family. And then they go and they bless. It's like, dude, the blessings fall down. And as soon as you forget that part, it's like, dude, come on. We got to remember why we're doing this every single day, you know?
Yep. Easy to lose perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And it's our job as leaders to make sure that the people that we're delegating leadership positions to at least try to have the same mind as we do, because it's easy, put all these people in place. I'm going to kick back. It's dude, that never works,
Yep. 100%. Well, I want to give you 2 pieces of homework for today and I want to follow up with you on it.
Yeah.
So your pieces of homework. Number 1, what headaches of your team members can you help empower them to stop those headaches with them? Does that make sense? How can you prevent your team's headaches from boiling up to you? And then the other piece of homework that I wanted to give you is, what do you still have on your plate that you need to delegate that you've been dragging your feet on? What's not a $5,000 an hour Ryan task that you need to get off your plate? And I would love to see in 30 days what you're able to do with those 2.
Yeah, and there's no shortage of those. It's just it's the same things that I know that I have to do,
Yeah.
And that's a great task. I'm excited to do that. I don't get enough tasks delegated to me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, dude, it was amazing speaking with you again. We met at PaintCon last year. I'll definitely be at PaintCon coming up again this year. Hopefully you're there too.
Yep. Yep. I'll be
And
there.
yeah, dude, it's awesome chatting with you. Appreciate you.
You too. And as soon as we met, like you said, very like-minded. I could tell, if we were dropped off in a room, we would gravitate towards each other, no questions asked, as we did. Really great to meet you. I think what you do is amazing. You do a great job, and dude, the success, it's all that's a testament to it. You've had amazing success, and my wife and I were looking at all your stuff, and it was so cool to see how many people you've helped. I start diving into my inner community, and a lot of them have gone through your courses and stuff. I think it's awesome what you're doing.
Yeah. Cool. I appreciate that, man. We do our
Yep.
best and trying to make a difference.
That's right. That's awesome. Well, thanks for
Awesome.
having
Thanks,
me
man.
on.
Thanks for listening to the Painter Growth Podcast. If you want to grow your painting business, go to www.paintergrowth.com or click on the top link in the description. Talk soon.